Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how to make strawberry jam. So we went to a local farm and picked all of these strawberries, and I decided that today I wanted to make and can some strawberry jam. So I'll be showing you how to do that. A couple of the things that you want to keep in mind before you start making this jam or any canning recipe. You want to use a trusted recipe. So I like to get recipes out of these books. I like the books by Ball, and I think I'm going to use the strawberry recipe under the old-fashioned jams. So some of the things you're going to need are obviously a canner. I'll show you. I'm using my Presto pressure canner right here, and basically you can use this also as a water bath canner if you don't tighten the lid on all the way. So I'm going to be using this as a water bath canner today, and you want to make sure you also have something down on the bottom to keep the bottom of the jars off the really hot base. You're going to need one of these little tools to check your headspace and also to poke air bubbles out of your jars. And then you're obviously gonna need something to grab your jars out of the hot water with. And I'm just using half-pint jars, also from Ball. And then I'm also gonna use this funnel to funnel the jam into my jars. And in place of lemon juice, I'm going to use this citric acid by Ball, safe for canning, because I don't have lemons, but I do have some of this, so that's what I'm going to go ahead and fill this up with water up to the line. There should be a line on here, and it will show you how high to fill this with water. I'm going to go ahead and do that and get this going before I even start the jam recipe, just so that I can transfer it over really quickly. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this up. So I'm gonna bring you over here and just show you how I'm doing this. I'm using, I think this is called a cookie dough scoop. It's by Pioneer Woman, and I'm just gonna kind of scoop the tops out like this, so that this is what the berry looks like and the whole top part is off of it. I'm gonna just transfer those to another bowl, and I'm going to throw my the green parts into a compost. Also growing berries in my backyard in a little grow tower, but I didn't quite have enough to make a strawberry jam with yet, so I think I'm gonna freeze the berries from my grow tower and just use them in smoothies. And I also like going to local farms because I like supporting local in-season produce, and I can also get the berries from these local farms without any plastic, which is important to me because here lately I've been trying to be more eco-friendly and sustainable, so that has been something that I've been trying to do. And going to local farms to pick my berries, or simply growing them in my own backyard, helps me to avoid the plastic packaging that you find in the grocery store. It also supports, like I said, local farms and produce that is in season. And canning it and making recipes with it helps me preserve it so that I can still enjoy these things when they're not in season.
Check it out. Check it out.
Okay guys, so I'm finally finished hulling the strawberries. The recipe I'm using calls for 8 cups of crushed hulled strawberries and 6 cups of granulated sugar. And you're also going to need the lemon juice. Everyone wants to help me, so she's being a little noisy. But yes, so I don't have a potato masher or anything to crush these with, so I think I'm just going to put them in the blender for a minute and crush them all up. The recipe is going to make about 8 jars of 8-ounce jam. You're going to need 8 cups of strawberries, and I'm going to crush them up in the blender. Okay, so I have 8 cups of berries in my blender, and I'm going to start pulsing it a little bit. I'm going to try not to get it super thin because I want a thicker jelly. Okay, that should be good. So 2 tablespoons of lemon juice equals about half of a teaspoon of citric acid. And this recipe calls for 4 tablespoons of lemon juice. So I'm going to use 2 half teaspoons or 1 teaspoon of the citric acid. I'm going to start adding in the sugar. We're going to stir in 6 cups of sugar into the jam. I've just got my sugar down here in a big tote. And you're going to try and stir it in a little bit at a time to just let it all dissolve in there before you add more. So I'm going ahead and putting my empty jars into the hot water because the temperature change I've read can cause your jars to crack. So I'm just going to do this to warm the jars up before I actually go ahead and put the jam in. You want to make sure that you're using clean, sterilized jars so that everything's nice and safe, clean, sanitary. You guys, this jam is just starting to smell amazing. So basically you're going to let it come to a rolling boil, which is where you're constantly stirring it, and it is still boiling as you stir. It doesn't simmer down or whatever when you stop stirring. My pesto is just now starting to boil, which is why you want to start that first before you even start hulling your strawberries or anything, because it takes a while to get a big pot of water to start boiling. And my jam is also starting to boil now, so I'm just going to let the heat build up until it starts coming to a rolling boil. And it does get a little bit foamy. You're going to want to scrape the foam off the top when it's done before you put it in jars. Scrape the foam off the top. And I will show you guys how to do that. when we get there. Okay, so my jam has come to a rolling boil. As you can see, it's boiling up, and as I stir, it is still boiling. So the jam is ready. I'm gonna just let it simmer back down a little bit. Okay guys, so you see all of the foam on the top. You're just gonna take a spoon or a ladle or something and scrape all of that foam out. Okay, so I scraped all the foam out, and I'm going to start filling my jam jars with the jam. And I'm just going to take it. It's still a little hot. I'm going to put the funnel on and then start funneling my jam into the jars. You want to make sure to leave 1/4 of an inch of headspace. So I'm going to fill it up a little bit more until I reach that desired amount of headspace. There we go. And then I'm just going to poke around the sides and get any air bubbles out. And then you're going to want to wipe the rim of your jar. I'm going to go get another rag. Then you're just going to wipe the rim of your jar. To make sure there's no excess food or anything along the rim. And then you're just going to place your lid on. Oops. And tighten it to fingertip tightness. You don't want it to be any tighter. And there's my first jar of jam. Check that headspace. I'm just going to go ahead and fill up all my jars before I do the same process. It's a little bit messy. So I've wiped all the rims, and now I'm going to put all the lids on to fingertip tightness. And for some reason the recipe said it would make 8, but it only made 7. I'm not 100% sure why. Because I followed the recipe exactly, but I'm not going to worry about it too much. I just came away with 1 less strawberry jam than the recipe called for. Maybe it's because I have a little bit left in the pot, but I don't think it's enough to make 1 full other jar of jam. Let's see here. Yeah, it's not quite enough to make a whole other little jar of jam, but I might put it in the fridge and just use it up right away. Okay, so now you're just going to place your jars of jam into the canner. You want to make sure that the water is completely covering the jars. looking for this to get really hot so that it creates a proper seal on your jars. I'm gonna make sure that it's boiling, and I believe you're going to boil for 10 minutes. I'm gonna double check here in a second. I think it was 10 minutes. Okay, so once the pot is boiling, just leave them in there for 10 minutes and then completely turn the stove off or move it off the heat and let it sit for another 5 minutes before taking your jars out. It has been boiling for about 10 minutes. I'm going to remove it from the heat and then wait another 5 minutes before I take the jars out. So I'm going to try and do this without burning myself. I'm just going to move it over a little bit. Okay, so I moved it over and it stopped boiling. I'm just going to wait another 5 minutes before removing the jars. So it has been 5 minutes. I'm going to take the jars out and transfer them onto a cloth on my counter. You want to make sure to put them on a towel or a cloth or something so that they don't burn or ruin your countertop. And then you're just going to let them sit for 24 hours and you're not going to disturb them so that the seal is created. Don't worry too much about the water on top of the jars because it will evaporate during the cooling process. You're going to make sure that you're pulling the jars straight up. Don't tip them or tilt them or anything. Don't mess with the jars. Don't try and wipe the water off the top because you can destroy your seal if you do that, and then your jam will be no good for storing. You'll have to use it up right away if you disturb the seal. So like I said, once you get your jars onto your towel, you're just going to leave them undisturbed for 24 hours before you store them. This just allows time for the jars to create a tight, compact seal, and you want to make sure that you have a good seal on them. Check the seal tomorrow. If you take the jar and you can push the top down like this, it means that you have a bad seal. You shouldn't be able to push it down at all. If it has a bad seal, you're not going to be able to reprocess it and you're just going to have to store it in the fridge and use it up right away. I'm going to try my jam on a piece of homemade bread. I'm going to cut off a slice and put it in the toaster really quickly. But I also want to show you guys these bread bags that I got. It says, all you need is loaves. It's so cute. So this is just what I store my homemade bread in. Okay guys, so I got so excited that I completely forgot to film me eating the bread and trying the jam. But let me tell you, this is the best strawberry jam I've ever had. It's so good. I can honestly just sit here and eat it out of this jar. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed coming along with me to make strawberry jam. I hope you made some of your own and it was super delicious. It turned out great. Also, if you guys want to see more, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you again in my next video.